Well, we, of course, earlier were speaking to the Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi. Let's talk to the other individual that, of course, was contesting that position. In all likelihood, will be his contender, at least from the part of the DA, coming up in the national 2024 elections. So, Msimanga. Mr. Msimanga, good evening to you. Thanks for your time tonight. Your reflections, it's not surprising, it's not unexpected that Panyaza Lesufi is now the Premier. So you've had some time to think about what this means for the province. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Kathy, for having us. I think the first point is to then say that nobody must hold their breath. Nobody must expect anything new. Panyaza has been there this is his second term. Remember, he was an MEC before when David Makura became the Premier first, then now again. And worse, this time he has been the leader of government business. And some of the things that we were expecting that the leader of government business would have taken care of have fallen also through the cracks. The fact that we are now still sitting with SIU reports that are not surfacing because the implication is that, people who Panyaza is going to be reporting to in the PEC will find themselves in orange overall. So nobody must hold their breath.
Which are some of those reports?
There's the Alexander Renewal Project.
Yes.
There is the Bekasdal Renewal Project. There is the Influent Renewal Project. There is the Bank of Lisbon report. There is also obviously the Babita matter that still needs to be dealt with. And these are just but a few examples of what needs to be dealt with that hasn't been dealt with in the longest of time. And we've been hearing from Makura saying that these will be dealt with. And issues of service delivery from a provincial perspective. I heard him saying that there are no issues with provincial roads. That's utter nonsense. You go to Mamelodi right now, there is a road that millions of rands have been spent that was supposed to cross Mahube connecting to Kalinen. That road, if you go there now, the amount of money that has been spent and what it looks like right now, you'll be shocked. There's the R55, that is not maintained. Is actually now the Centurion part of it. It's now a haven for criminals. People are hijacked. People are murdered on that particular road because it is not maintained. So and it goes on and on. But here's the other thing. As I'm talking to you right now, Raima Musa doesn't have water. Parts of it doesn't have electricity. The other hospital next to it, Charlotte Matlake, is suffering the same fate. We have been asking for a very, very long time. You cannot be talking about transformation, modernization, reindustrialization when you are failing to take care of the most basics. And right now, we have 1,000 people in those two hospitals whose lives are at risk of, their lives are at risk, or even the risk of them, catching even other diseases because now they have to go use portable toilets, they have to now share water, and. What is government going to do about it? And this is the questions that we've been asking for a very long time.
When it comes to the issues in particular that you are going to be looking at, and it's also about accountability that you would want to hold Premier Lesufi accountable on, what would you say the three key issues for you are?
Well, if Panyaza ever wants us to take him, sorry, I'll call him Panyaza because
sure. No, I can see you're very cordial with each other. I actually wished that our viewers were able to see the interaction the two of you had on air, so that when they see you fighting, on other platforms, they'll have a different take on that.
No, we are cordial as human beings, but I think we do fight where it is necessary for us to fight for the people that really elected us and for the people that are crying on our shoulders on a daily basis. Now, you ask a question about what are the things that we are going to be fighting about. One is the issue of corruption and lack of accountability. Now, under his own department, there's over 400 million that was used to go and sanitize empty schools. Nobody is now arrested. Nobody right now is facing charges even internally.
Well, he says that he can't be held accountable for the SIU, and not the SIU rather, but for the prosecuting bodies not doing their jobs. Because it's not his job to charge people.
The question is, what has he done? People used to say in Swani, oh, you were the mayor, this happened under you. I wrote a report and took to council. I wrote a report and took to council and says we need to do a further investigation. Whether we do it internally or we do it externally. I did that. What did he do now when he was head of that department? You can't then say, oh, well, we'll leave it. It's the same thing that David Makhura did. People in his own office were implicated. Babeta, in one of the affidavits, says people in Premier Makhura's office were implicated. Not a single person has, up to this date, ever been prosecuted or ever been investigated. Because, whether it's officials, whether it's politicians who are guilty, until such time as people are really acted upon and prosecuted, we will never deal with the issue of corruption and maladministration in our government departments or in government in all three levels. And that is a serious problem. The second issue, Kathy, the only time we'll ever take Panyaza seriously is if those people that have been, especially the politicians, that have been found to be implicated in the SIU reports, should actually be exposed and should actually then be prosecuted. I would want to see the day where a premier or a president stands up and say, I will go and testify against these people that are employed in this department so that we can show that we really are serious about dealing with issues of corruption.
That's if they have the relevant evidence.
Well, the evidence is there. Why? The reports have been very, very clear. And why would the Premier Makhura, and by the way, this is another reason why they've been dealing with him internally. Because he started now making a whole lot of noise during their own factional battles to say, well, I have these reports, I will make them public, lifestyle audits and all of that. And then those that don't want all these things to be found and say, Chief, you have to go before these things come to light. And this is why I've said earlier on today, the problem is not an individual. So you can change Panyaza, you can go put another person, you can go put another, you can even put the Pope. The problem there is an organizational problem. The culture that is there, the way in which the organization operates will make sure that nobody who's coming from that organization will be able to then deliver. That's the problem.
Speaking about this very issue then, Panyaza says it's easy for individuals like yourself, members of opposition parties, to criticize. But in fact, despite all of these challenges, you are not able to ensure that your position, what you stand for, what you offer voters, translates into the majority of votes then come an election.
Yeah, you see, this is why they used to say that they will govern until Jesus comes, because it's that level of arrogance to then say, irrespective of what we do, irrespective of the wrong that we do, irrespective that we still have asbestos classrooms, irrespective that we still have pit toilets where our kids are still going to the toilet, irrespective that you still have schools that don't have books, irrespective of millions of rands, over half a billion spent in a hospital that we don't owe. The hospital that was supposed to have been the COVID hospital, we have spent R500 million, but we don't even own that hospital, and now it's handed back to that. You have a statement being made to say, we don't attract numbers. But I can tell you one thing. People have, over time, given the governing ANC an opportunity to prove itself. And you can see the support declining over and over and over again. If anything, the polls are anything to go by at this point in time, Kathy, I think this governing party will find itself in serious trouble. The only sad part is that it looks like the opposition parties that should actually somewhat be colliding and colluding towards ensuring that the big giant is not returned to power, is not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
So, Msimanga, I don't want to get into that debate. That's a whole other conversation, and unfortunately, we're completely out of time for this interview. The Gauteng Leader, Msimanga.